Details have been released as to why Molly Qerim abruptly quit ESPN. And when I say abruptly quit, I mean she left work, I think it was on Monday.
Stephen A. Smith, louder than a foghorn and twice as sharp, just flipped the script in a way nobody saw coming. On his own show, the man who's never been afraid of controversy locked eyes with the camera and tore through a decade of fake smiles and "we're all family" talk at ESPN. He wasn't here to play nice or offer polished goodbye speeches. No, he came for blood, and Molly Qerim's name was right in the crosshairs.
ESPN and Molly Qerim, they are trying to polish the They're trying to make this look like an amicable divorce. And look, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe they couldn't come to an agreement and they agreed to amicably part ways.
According to Stephen A., Molly wasn't the poor, blindsided co-host that social media painted her as. Behind those bright studio lights, she was allegedly pulling strings, making quiet moves, and setting herself up for power. Forget the emotional Instagram farewells and carefully worded PR statements. Stephen made it sound like she was plotting her next empire move while everyone else was clapping for her farewell speech. When he dropped that bomb, the room must have gone ice cold.
I think we'll start with Molly Qerim. She, yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving like immediately, which is an indication that, man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more serious. She's off the show now. ESPN put out a statement. Stephen A. Smith had something to say.
Smith didn't just imply she left on her own terms. He suggested she tried to push the company itself, angling for a fat paycheck or a seat at the big table. And when that play didn't land, boom, she was out. That kind of fire from ESPN's biggest star wasn't just gossip. It was a full-on warning shot to everyone watching.
Miss Molly Qerim, longtime host for ESPN's First Take, my day job, where she has been the last 10 years. Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
Smith turned his own arsenal inward, firing at someone he'd shared a desk with for 10 long years. Every exec at ESPN probably sat up straight after that, because this wasn't about ratings anymore. It was about power. And Stephen made sure the world knew who really lost that battle.
So let me start the speculation. When I heard that it was immediate, I was like, oh, she must already have a job lined up. Mm-hmm. And the job that she has lined up must be some sort of competitor to ESPN. And so that made me, is she going to Fox Sports?
While Stephen A. Smith's words were still echoing through the halls like a warning siren, the executives upstairs were already suiting up with their rehearsed corporate spin. Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content and the man whose job is basically putting out media wildfires, picked up the phone and called The Athletic. His response? Cold, clean, calculated. "There's no shoe that's going to drop," he said. But come on, who's buying that line anymore?
To be blunt, it came as a shock. I was not aware that this is something that she was contemplating doing. But in the end, she made her decision. And we have to move on as a show. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it because I appreciate her and what she has meant to me, what she has meant to the show, what she has meant to the network, what she's meant to the business.
Magnus came out smooth, polished, and dripping with that PR charm. He claimed Molly Qerim just wanted new challenges and that the talks simply didn't align. Translation? The same empty corporate goodbye we've heard 1,000 times before. They always say it's a mutual decision and thank everyone for the memories. But when your biggest on-air personality is publicly calling out his former co-host for scheming behind the scenes, that's not nostalgia, that's smoke. And Burke's broom isn't big enough to sweep it under the rug.
So maybe she has enough money saved or whatever it is or whatever. I don't know her financial situation, and I'm not going to be pocket watching the pocketbook of a lady, God forbid. But I'm sure she's done very well for herself. And maybe it was just a time for her to move on. People after a while, people have other interests, they decide to do other things, and I think it's perfectly normal.
Let's be real. This wasn't some harmless office shuffle. There's tension here, and it's thick. The cracks between Steven's raw, emotional on-air truth bomb and Magnus's sterile nothing to see here statement are glaring. Anyone with eyes can see they're not telling the same story, not even close. So, let's rewind the tape.
But just imagine all this time, and you're in that position. And then you get to the position where you're in another contract negotiation. You're not hearing what you want to hear. You're not hearing it not only in the money, but in also they're talking funny in terms of giving you greater role. And you're like, it's time to move on. Imagine you're in that moment. What will make you, a report comes out after you do a Monday show, not show up for work on Tuesday?
September 16th, the day everything started unraveling. Molly Qerim, always careful with her words, posted her farewell message on Instagram. The caption read, "One of the greatest honors of my career. Sweet, clean, picture perfect. Just enough gratitude to sell the illusion that everything was fine." But less than 12 hours later, the cameras rolled on First Take, and something felt off immediately. There was Stephen A. sitting in her chair, his voice breaking as he tried to deliver a tribute that felt more like a press release than a goodbye. "Molly's a friend. We'll miss her," he said, trying to sound composed. But his face told another story. It was awkward, tense, loaded. Behind those words, every viewer could feel it. The heartbreak, the frustration, and the unspoken truth that Molly didn't just walk away peacefully. She didn't finish her contract. She didn't stick around for a grand send-off. She vanished. One day she was there, the next she was gone. No warning, no closure, no real goodbye. And now, the official line that this was all her choice sounds faker by the minute.
I thought that was a kind of an interesting segue that he had in terms of the Molly Qerim situation. And now that you say it, I'm thinking, are those two things connected? Then maybe Stephen A says, hey, I have great value. She's our point guard. I'm comfortable with her. Maybe the higher up said, hey, look, Stephen A, you got the money. The budget is the budget. And maybe, this is just a theory, just my opinion, maybe he wanted Molly Qerim to get a little extra money, but again, it's not his money. It's not his budget.
Every time Stephen opens his mouth, every pause between his sentences, it's like he's confirming what insiders already whisper. This wasn't a clean exit. On camera, it was all smiles, hugs, and watery eyes. But off camera, the air was ice cold. The morning after that emotional farewell, the truth started bubbling up fast. Reports hit the web claiming Molly Qerim didn't just step away, she straight up walked out months before her contract even ended. And here's the kicker. In her entire goodbye message, she didn't mention Stephen A. Smith once. Not once. That silence spoke louder than any farewell speech ever could. By noon, the whispers had already turned into a full-blown storm. Insiders started hinting that her polished Instagram post wasn't a goodbye at all. It was a preemptive strike, a move to control the story before the story controlled her.
Acknowledging my love and appreciation for her and what she's meant to me and what she's meant to the show. Because over the years, over the last decade or so, the things that we've accomplished, she was right there. And we could talk about me being the star of my daily television show. We could talk about the contributors that have been stars as well. We can even talk about me doing this show right now. You know, it's a hell of a lot easier to have a second job.
While ESPN execs read their clean, emotionless statements about new challenges and mutual respect, the entire sports world could smell that something stank. Because let's be honest, for a woman who had spent nearly a decade holding First Take together through wild debates, shouting matches, and live TV chaos, her exit didn't look like a peaceful farewell anymore. It looked like a nasty, behind-the-scenes breakup, one with all the ugly details locked deep inside ESPN's vault. Then things got even messier when Marcellus Wiley jumped into the mix on his Hydration Situation podcast. Wiley, never one to bite his tongue, casually dropped the kind of insider bomb that sends group chats into meltdown mode. He claimed Molly wasn't just unhappy, she was done with the nonsense and ready to cash in or move on. According to Wiley, she told the network flat out, "If I'm going to stay, you're gonna have to pay me for my suffering." That word, suffering, hung in the air like smoke. Suddenly, this wasn't just another contract dispute. It sounded personal. Wiley went even further, saying Molly wanted her own show, her own platform, a shot to build something under her name instead of always orbiting around Finney's firestorm, but ESPN didn't budge. No raise, no shiny new franchise, no special treatment, just a cold, polite, stay in your lane. Marcellus Wiley didn't just spill tea, he kicked over the whole pot and set it on fire. His story didn't stop at contract talk. He went deeper, straight into ESPN's power core. According to Wiley, Molly Qerim's fate was never really hers to decide. Everything, and he meant everything, ran through one man, Stephen A. Smith. If he gives the nod, doors open. If he doesn't, you're done. End of discussion. Wiley didn't even sugarcoat it. He dropped the line like a verdict. When Stephen A. doesn't sign off on you, you don't get what you want. Boom. Silence. The message was clear. For Molly, there was no sign-off, no green light, no backing from the network's most powerful voice. Just a cold, unbreakable wall. Wiley described it perfectly. She was a no on the No One Show, watching from the sidelines while others like Mina Kimes, who isn't even front and center on a flagship broadcast, raked in better deals, bigger exposure, and way more respect. So when Molly's power play fell flat, the writing was on the wall. Wiley hinted that if Stephen had wanted her to stay, she'd still be sitting on that first take set, probably with a fatter check and her own mini empire inside the ESPN kingdom. But when the king doesn't bless the move, the game's over before it starts. At ESPN, it's not a democracy, it's a monarchy, and there's only one crown, and it's sitting firmly on Stephen A.'s head. But just when viewers thought the dust might settle, another wave of drama started creeping in. Molly, known for always keeping it classy and professional, dropped her farewell post, and not once did she mention Stephen A.'s name. Not a word, not a nod, not even a polite wish you well. For two people who shared a stage for a decade, that silence felt deafening. Insiders say that omission wasn't random, it was a signal. Whatever went down between them wasn't pretty. Rumors swirled that by the time negotiations hit the table, Molly had lost all leverage. No allies, no backup, no lifeline. Smith might have been emotional on camera, but off camera, sources say things had gone cold long before that broadcast goodbye. And if she'd been secretly hoping for a last-minute save from the man who could move mountains at ESPN, she misread the play completely. Wiley, with that knowing smirk, summed it up perfectly. When Stephen A. doesn't back you, you don't win. Period. No appeals, no second chances, that's the game. And Stephen A. runs it like a king with the final word. Now, as ESPN scrambles to test a lineup of replacements and the higher-ups swear there's no bombshell waiting to drop, the picture of Molly Qerim that's left behind couldn't be more haunting. This is the same woman who carried First Take through a decade of chaos. The shouting matches, the awkward apologies, the viral blow-ups that kept fans glued to their screens. And yet, after all that, she walked out of that building alone. No applause, no farewell montage, no fancy send-off, just silence. And maybe a few nervous glances from the same people who once depended on her to keep the peace on live TV. Her final chapter wasn't a graceful goodbye. It was a door quietly closing while the cameras were still warm. Her last power move, whatever it truly was, got shut down cold, blocked by the very man she spent 10 years introducing every morning with a smile. Now ESPN's Morning Throne sits half empty, while corporate voices rush to patch the story together with PR tape. But viewers can feel the tension, the sting behind that glossy studio lighting. This wasn't just another career move, it was a reminder of how ruthless that empire really is. Because when the king guards his crown that tightly, what chance does the queen have to rise? We all watched Stephen A. Smith break down on air. The trembling voice, the glassy eyes, the talk of 10 years of partnership and respect. But let's be real, the man's heartbreak had layers. Because when you rewind the tape, there's one line that cracked this story wide open. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. Boom. That sentence right there lit the fuse on every rumor, theory, and think piece flying across the internet. The way he said it, that slick practice sidestep, was classic Stephen A. The same cool confidence he uses when he knows something big but refuses to spill. It was like he dropped a grenade and then smiled while everyone scrambled to pick up the pieces. Social media went wild. Fans started digging through old interviews, analyzing tone, body language, everything. Because when Stephen says, "I don't know all the details," but then follows it up with, "I know more than I'm willing to share," he's not calming the storm, he's fueling it. Every word out of his mouth sounded like bait, teasing the audience with secrets he refuses to confirm or deny. And it raises the question, is he protecting Molly or protecting himself? Was that emotional tribute an act of loyalty or a preemptive defense move? Was he the heartbroken co-host or the mastermind quietly shaping the narrative? The contradiction is wild. Public tears, private silence, and interviews so carefully worded they sound like they've been rehearsed in a boardroom. That "I know something you don't" tone has turned this entire situation into a national guessing game. Every time he speaks, it's like he's holding a locked briefcase filled with the truth, waving it in front of millions, daring someone to open it. The more he says, "I'm not gonna talk about it," the more it feels like he already has. One minute he's mourning Molly like she's family. The next he's hinting that she made tactical mistakes or wanted too much control. It's emotional whiplash, and it's strategic. Because this isn't just about feelings, it's about power, positioning, and survival inside one of TV's most cutthroat empires. The deeper you look, the clearer it gets. This isn't just a friendly farewell gone wrong, it's a chess match in real time. Stephen A. is protecting his throne, carefully crafting his legacy while keeping the cameras sympathetic. While Stephen A. Smith was still dropping cryptic hints that Molly might be out of work, reality flipped the script fast, real fast. Before her farewell post even stopped trending, the entire industry was already blowing up her phone. The ink wasn't even dry, and the same woman being painted as done was suddenly the hottest free agent on the market. According to a report from Steve Brenner at the US Sun, Molly Qerim's phone didn't stop ringing for days. Networks from both coasts were calling, these and not for side gigs or token appearances. They wanted her front and center. And the biggest shark in the water? FOX Sports. Word on the street says they were ready to throw down a 3-year, $2 million deal, plus bonuses, to have Molly covering NFL, college football, and even top-tier basketball. That's not an offer, that's a power move. So while Stephen A. was implying she'd been left in the cold, rival networks were literally rolling out the red carpet. It's the kind of twist you couldn't script better if you tried, the so-called cast-off turning into the most wanted face in sports media overnight. ESPN's loss was suddenly Fox's golden opportunity, and they weren't shy about making that known. Let's be honest, this wasn't sympathy hiring. Fox wasn't tossing her a lifeline. They were making a statement. This was a full-on counterattack in the ongoing turf war for on-air dominance. The optics alone were wild. Molly walks out of ESPN on Monday, and by Wednesday, her name's buzzing through every executive office at Fox HQ. And insiders claim the talks weren't just casual. FOX was ready to move now. Real money, real coverage, and possibly her very own studio show. The timing couldn't have been more strategic. FOX saw ESPN fumble and swooped in like hawks circling a fresh opportunity. It's not a rescue, it's revenge disguised as recruitment. Fox saw the PR chaos, the whispers, the tension, and knew exactly when to strike. Because when one network's problem becomes another's headline victory, it's not about charity, it's about power. The message couldn't be louder. ESPN might try to write you out of the script, but that doesn't mean your story's over. While job offers were flooding in for Molly Qerim, ESPN wasn't wasting a single second. They were already playing their next move like chess masters. Before the glow from Molly's Instagram farewell even dimmed, the network dropped a new headline of their own. Malika Andrews, 10 years younger, sharp, polished, and rising fast, had just inked a brand new multi-year deal. The announcement came wrapped in that same corporate family language they'd used for Molly, except this time it sounded copy-pasted and ice-cold. The timing was too perfect, too slick, too calculated. One day they're waving goodbye to Molly, the next, they're celebrating her replacement with a press release that read more like damage control than congratulations. Everyone noticed, fans, reporters, even insiders in the building. It didn't feel like a coincidence. It felt like strategy. One woman out, another locked in, just like that. The move was corporate ruthlessness disguised as business as usual, and it worked like a warning shot to every anchor, journalist, and on-air personality still inside the ESPN fortress. The message couldn't be clearer. No one is untouchable. Protect the bench. Lock down the next star before the last one even finishes walking out the door. And in a city full of hungry, ambitious talent, there's always someone ready to take your chair. But while executives patted themselves on the back, the public wasn't fooled. The back-to-back headlines, Molly out, Malika up, looked way too clean. It was the kind of move that would make any HR department sweat, but in ESPN's boardrooms, it landed exactly how they wanted. It wasn't about fairness, it was about control. Meanwhile, Burke Magnus, ESPN's president of content and professional fire extinguisher, went on his media tour, pounding the same line into every interview. There's no controversy here. There's no shoe that's going to drop. He said it so many times it started sounding like a nervous mantra. But the more he said it, the less anyone believed it. Because the optics were brutal. Molly Qerim gone, Malika Andrews instantly elevated, and First Take running a revolving door of guest hosts like it was open auditions week in Hollywood. To the public, it didn't look like a seamless transition. It looked like a purge dressed up as progress. And now, the gap between ESPN's official everything's fine narrative and the whispers behind the scenes isn't just widening, it's turning into a canyon. There's an awkward truth ESPN just can't shake. This isn't their first rodeo when it comes to cycling through their female hosts. Every time the network wants to shift the tone or restructure the power, the pattern repeats itself like clockwork. One day, a woman is the heart of the show, praised for her professionalism, loved by viewers, holding the chaos together. And the next, she's being thanked for her amazing years of service, while a newer, younger face slides right into her seat. We've all seen it before. It's the silent rotation that never stops. Polished statements, forced smiles, and sudden mutual decisions. And now, as Molly Qerim's exit unfolds, that same corporate rhythm is playing once again. Burke Magnus can keep saying, "There's no shoe to drop," but his voice is practically cracking under the pressure. Because come on, everyone can see what's happening here. The whispers across studios and green rooms say it out loud. Was this really a negotiation gone bad? Or a calculated takedown of a co-host who flew a little too close to the sun? Did Molly simply ask for more money, more control, more credit, and end up punished for it? The question is hanging in the air like a cloud of smoke no one at ESPN dares to clear. And the contradictions keep stacking higher than the ratings. Stephen A. Smith, the man who never met a microphone he couldn't dominate, goes from emotional tributes to throwing subtle shade faster than a highlight reel. One moment, he's choked up about losing a partner, and the next, he's dropping veiled accusations hinting at details he refuses to share, like a man playing both sides of the same story. Then there's Molly Qerim, branded by her own partner as a schemer, maybe even a blackmailer, depending on who you ask, yet somehow landing a flood of new job offers before her goodbye flowers even had time to wilt. That's not coincidence. That's power shifting in real time. Meanwhile, ESPN stands there with that corporate poker face, acting like it's all part of the plan. Out with the old, in with the new, rinse and repeat. Within a single news cycle, they swapped one decade-long anchor for a younger star and pretended nothing happened. Every official answer they give feels like another wall going up, cold, rehearsed, and polished to perfection. But the rumors? They're moving like water, slipping right through the cracks, telling a story no press release can hide. And right now, that story sounds a lot less like business as usual, and a lot more like a silent war inside the empire. This isn't just about a TV job anymore. This has turned into a full-blown trial of power, loyalty, and ambition inside the most watched network in all of sports. The question now is bigger than just contracts or ratings. Was Molly Qerim a master strategist who pushed her luck too far? Or was she a loyal star quietly boxed out the moment she reached for more than she was supposed to have? Because let's be real, ESPN doesn't give up control easily. Was this a failed negotiation? Or did Stephen A. Smith and the higher-ups pull off the ultimate inside job to keep their empire exactly how they like it? The timing, the silence, the PR polish? It all feels a little too clean, doesn't it? And as for Burke Magnus, still repeating that infamous line, "There's no shoe that's going to drop." You have to wonder, is he trying to convince us or himself? Because in sports television, the shoes don't fall with a bang. They drop quietly, behind closed doors, when no one's watching. By the time the lights dim and the dust settles, the new reality's already locked in place. But here's where it gets wild. This story might not even be over. Every fan, every insider, every blogger is asking the same thing right now. Will Molly stay silent? Or does she have a bombshell tucked away that could blow this entire narrative wide open? If she ever decides to tell her side, the real side, what would that reveal about the empire she helped build and the people who pushed her out of it? Because the truth? It never stays buried for long. And when you mix egos, money, and fame, something's bound to crack. The smiles we saw on camera might have been nothing more than masks covering years of tension, resentment, and betrayal. So what do you think? Is this just another round of corporate chess? Or are we witnessing the unraveling of something way deeper, way darker, and way more dangerous inside ESPN's walls? What really happened between Stephen A. Smith, Molly Qerim, and the network that built them both? Drop your boldest theories down below. Who's the real puppet master? And who just got played? Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that bell so you never miss the next twist in this wild story. Stay curious, stay sharp, and remember, when the cameras stop rolling, that's when the real show begins. See you on the next one.